This video is based on an article I wrote on my blog. Link to the article is in the description. Speaking in tongues is easy when you love Jesus. Speaking in tongues can be tough, but loving Jesus makes it super easy. Most people who struggle with speaking in tongues forget that it is a communication tool. A communication tool is useless if there is nobody to communicate with. And even when there are people to communicate with, unless you love those people, you won't have the urge to communicate with them. The same is true for speaking in tongues. It is a tool that helps us commune with Jesus. If you love Jesus so much, you will want to talk to him every so often. And that desire to talk to him every so often will drive you to speak in tongues every time. Speaking in tongues out of love for Jesus for beginners. Did you know that someone can receive the gift of speaking in tongues if his love for Jesus gets to a certain level? Ordinarily, we lay hands on people to receive the gift of praying in tongues, but that is only one method of getting the gift. The other method is by building the love for Jesus to a high level. God designed it this way for a good reason. You see, praying in tongues is a tool of communication. Praying in understanding is a weaker version of the tool. If someone loves Jesus, he will want to commune with him from time to time. If praying in understanding can't handle the frequency and depth of the communion someone wants to have with Jesus, God will automatically give the person the gift of praying in tongues. If you received the gift of praying in tongues on your own, it is because you achieved a level of intimacy with Jesus that praying in understanding could not service. For someone who desires to get the gift of speaking in tongues, the easiest way is by loving Jesus and having a deep desire to commune with him. For some believers, they have spoken in tongues once and then the gift disappeared. In such cases, it is because they cultivated their love for Jesus to a level where they legitimately got the gift of praying in tongues, but when they stopped cultivating it, the gift disappeared. The love we have for Jesus is like a line graph that has spikes and dips. Despite the line graph having spikes and dips, there is a baseline. If someone gets a spike that shoots above the love threshold required to speak in tongues, they will speak in tongues, but if their baseline is below the threshold, it is only a matter of time before they lose their privilege. It is normal to fluctuate in speaking in tongues. Our desire to speak in tongues is directly proportional to the love we have for Jesus. Since our love for Jesus fluctuates, our desire to speak in tongues also fluctuates. Even for believers who speak in tongues daily, there are days when speaking in tongues flows and other days when it is a struggle. Accepting that there are fluctuations will help you sail through days when the desire to speak in tongues is low. The most important thing is to build your baseline. Don't be stuck in chasing spikes. In my early years of speaking in tongues, I used to attend a fellowship where people spoke in tongues fervently. When I would attend the fellowships, I would find it very easy to pray in tongues for long. After the fellowships, I believed I could pray with the same intensity on my own. But when I tried praying on my own, I still struggled. It puzzled me for a while until I understood that attending those speaking in tongues fellowships caused a spike in my love for Jesus, and it resulted in ease of speaking in tongues. On my own, I had not cultivated my love for Jesus that much, so I found it hard to pray with the same intensity. Despite the frustrating realization, each spike you experience raises your baseline. Before long, your baseline will be above the love threshold required to make you speak in tongues easily. The tongues you speak when you are discouraged will raise your baseline. Don't give up. Speaking to Jesus in tongues is sweet. Jesus has a sweet personality. If you struggle with loneliness, speaking to Jesus will make your loneliness disappear. If people don't understand you, Jesus will always understand you when you speak to him. The lives we live are full of pain and suffering. Jesus went through all pain and suffering. When you speak to him, he will understand you. If you are struggling financially, Jesus was born to a poor couple and he lived on the bare minimum. He knows the pain of poverty. If you are struggling with your relationships, Jesus had a fair share of pain when he was rejected by his own people. Speaking to him will ease your pain. If life feels hopeless for you sometimes, remember that Jesus lived with full knowledge that he would be crucified, but he never gave up hope. When you speak to him, he will tell you how he managed to live through hopeless times. If you have a struggling business, remember that Jesus had a ministry that struggled to take off. Jesus understands the pain of starting a venture that seems to be going nowhere, no matter how much effort you put into it. As we know, Jesus never gave up on his ministry, and today we are beneficiaries of his work. If you are struggling with running a ministry or a business, speaking to Jesus will ease your pain. For those who are bereaved, Jesus felt the pain of losing someone close to him when Lazarus passed away. And because Jesus is the resurrection, by speaking to him, his resurrection power will overshadow your grief. If you are struggling with your health, Jesus dealt with many cases of sickness. He understands the pain of being sick. By speaking to him, he will not only console you, but he will heal you as well. If you are being falsely accused, by speaking to Jesus, he will console you because he knows the pain of being accused falsely. For those who have been betrayed, Jesus suffered betrayal too. Communing with him will bring you consolation. I can go on and on about how Jesus accounted for every pain, but I believe by now you understand that there is no pain that Jesus doesn't understand. This knowledge should help you love Jesus more and have a deeper desire to talk to him. With a deep desire to talk to Jesus, speaking in tongues will flow easily. If speaking in tongues has been a challenge to you, I believe this revelation will help make it easy. Until next time, peace.